Hello, happy stampers. This is Kate with Kate's Paper Creations, back this week with current catalog items being used to make a card. And I'm looking at Christmas, so current catalog Christmas cards. There we go. That sounds good. This is the card we're going to make today. And I'm always looking for something new, to how to use some of our things. And so I'm thinking that this is new to me, but maybe it's not new to you. So we'll see. You can always let me know. So this is what we're going to make. Let me show you how we're going to do that. First of all, I will tell you I am using For Unto Us for the sentiment. Christmas begins with Christ. I'm using Festive Foliage for the background. And we'll get that out while I'm here. And I used the Stitch So Sweetly to make a mask, and I used this die and I had my mask, but I'm not sure. Well, there it is. I've got it. So that's the die I used for the mask. I'm going to be using blends pins, and I'm using every green there is, I believe. I've got light and dark old olive, light and dark mossy meadow, light and dark granny apple green, light and dark soft succulent, and light and dark evening evergreen. And then I also have the light and dark cherry cobbler, all blends pins. And I'm going to be using, get this out of my way, I'm going to be using the Stamparatus today. So we'll bring that in. And I am going to use a base card of Real Red, 5.5 by 8.5. Scored at 4 1/4. Makes that top fold greeting card that I'm going to make today. Oopsie, got my cord caught. And then I'm going to cut 2 pieces of regular Whisper White, and those are going to be used on the front and the inside of the card. We're only going to need one of them for the front of the card at this point. Okay, I'm going to place this on the Stamparatus. And I am going to just line it up so I know it's nice and straight. Oh, I want to do it this way because my card's going to be a landscape fold, orientation, whatever. And so we'll put it that way. And then I'm going to put these just on the very corners. And then I'm going to lay this here. Make sure that that gives room for that to lay down. Make sure it all stays square. And I know I have it upside down. I was just trying to see. Okay, I think it's gonna, because I want it to be not hitting those. I think those magnets are so strong. This corner is going to be a better corner. That'll work. Okay, and I'm going to center that on there and get that stuck to the Stamparatus lid. Then this piece that I cut out with the die is just out of really thin 20-pound copy paper. And I'm going to be using it as a mask. And so I use copy paper so it makes the image able to stamp closer to the edge. But something else I do is I cut the masking image a little bit smaller than normal so that it gets even closer to the edges when you stamp it. And so this particular die cut has a stitched edge all the way around, and I am just going to cut it just inside those stitched edges all the way around, and I'm going to take that off. So it's just a hair bit smaller than it would be if you left it alone. And so I don't know if I've explained it very well, but it just creates a little bit easier for the image that you're stamping over it to get closer to the edge so you don't have white gaps. Now, I'm not going to have white gaps necessarily, but I still want to be able to have this image that I'm stamping get as close in as I can and yet still leave room for my sentiment. And this will still leave room. So So there, I cut those off. Now I'm just going to take my removable adhesive and put a bunch of it on the back to hold it in place. Hold it down really well. And then I am going to put it on the front of this card, and I notice while I'm doing that that this is just a little bit crooked, and I might want to fix that. So let's get that right. I don't want this to be crooked, and so I'm going to reset my piece before I go any further. I'm going to take that off of this side, and I'm going to reset it because I want to make sure. There we go. Yeah, it's still holding it. Okay, now I'm going to take this mask and I'm going to center it on this piece as best I can, top to bottom, side to side. So let's just, now if you're very, very particular, you can get a ruler out and measure that. I'm happy with that. Okay, then I'm going to use the Memento ink. Remember, when you're coloring with alcohol inks, you want to use a water-based ink. It's having a hard time getting it open, to stamp with, because the alcohol inks, the water base won't smear or fade into. If you're using water-based inks to color with, then you want to use StazOn. So just remember, Memento goes with the alcohol markers. Okay, now I'm just going to ink up the image, and I'm going to try and not get too dark. I got a little bit too dark on some of it, and since I can check this and restamp, I don't have to get too carried away. And you can kind of see how you're doing for stamping, or inking I should say. Let's see how that turns out. Now, I purchased a dry eraser, and I use that to kind of push, gives me a more even, plus I can take it and like this edge, and I know right where that mask is at, and I can push a little extra harder around that, extra hard, yeah, and get a really good image next to the, yeah, I see I still need to do some, so I need to ink some more over here and down in here. That's the nice thing about the Stamparatus, is we can do that and it's all lined up, so it's going to be able to be, let's see if we can't get a little bit better image. Still missing some, so let's we'll just keep trying. Yep, that's that image right there that it's not wanting to get, so we'll do it again. I'm thinking that my clamp is getting in the way. My magnet is what I think is causing me this grief, because the ink seems to be on this thing. So I'm going to take this magnet away, and we're going to see if that doesn't solve my problem. Yeah. Okay, just a little bit more right there. I don't usually have this much trouble, but like I say, that's the nice thing about the Stamparatus, is you can just keep going until you get it every little bit the way you need it to be. Okay, it's getting better. Still not real happy with that. Isn't that Isn't that just interesting, to say the least? Now I see those things have ink on them, so I'm not real sure what I'm doing wrong, but let's just try it one more time. Okay, I'm happy with that. Okay, so there's my front piece. Now I don't want to close this on my thing. I'm going to turn it like this, and I'll clean that later. I can set it aside. Now it really looks funny here, but we're going to pick up this mask and we're going to peel it away, and it leaves the center, as you can see. And I could have stamped this ahead of time, and probably would have been better if I had, because then you wouldn't have to watch me restamp so many times. But I just started picking greens, and it really doesn't matter which green you use where. I'm going to use, this is Soft Succulent Light, and I'm going to use it to color these little stems. Just like this. And I don't necessarily have to do the whole thing. I could kind of show you. Obviously the colors are your choice, and you can make them any color you want. I just had a feeling, you know, when I was doing this, or when I first thought of doing this, I just remember getting bouquets or centerpieces for Christmas, and they always had lots of greenery in them of all different kinds. It was fir boughs and cedar boughs and eucalyptus and all those different greens, and so that's what I was thinking I would use. So that's the Soft Succulent. The Evening Evergreen Light I used to color this one really large leaf right here. And the Evening Evergreen dark gets really dark, and so I went with the light on this, and it's still plenty dark. Creates a nice dark green. And just got to have a light hand around the edges when you're coloring with these. They do bleed just a tiny bit, so you want to kind of be careful when you start coming up to the edges of things. Edges of your design, I should say. And that's the only one I'm going to color that color. We'll set that color aside. Then I'm going to, let's see, this is Old Olive Light. And I think I'm going to do the leaves with that, these leaves. Yeah, these ones. And so we had a little bit of reprieve in the weather today. We had some clouds, and they tried to rain, but they didn't make it. So we still are in a dry spell, supposedly a drought. Now this is one of those leaves, and it's kind of coming up on the center, and so you're just going to have to choose to draw a boundary for them when they come up to the edge like that, the edge of your masking area. Here's another one here. I always keep the pins out because it never fails that I get done and I find one I forgot. Okay, I'm going to do the Mossy Meadow Light, and I'm going to use the pen end for this to bring color into all of these little guys, and the pen end works perfect for that, because you can just basically draw a single stripe and it'll fill it in and not get too messy outside the lines. Although you won't ever see me worry about perfection when I color. I've been known to have it not be perfect, and I still send them out. I remember I used to have a stamp that said that imperfections were part of the artistic, Let's see, what color was that? Okay. Let's see. Let's do these. And once you start coloring it in, it's funny because I'll start to get done, and then I'll go, oh, there's another leaf like that one. I got to pull that color out and color it. And I'm reminded that I missed a spot, or missed a leaf here, or a flower there. It's kind of funny how that happens. You think your eye has seen them all. If you ever played that game where you have to find the differences between the two pictures, and sometimes you can stare at it forever and never find all of them, and then you hit the button that tells you what they all are, and then it goes, oh, that is so obvious after somebody points it out, right? That's kind of how it is when I'm coloring. Sometimes they go, how could I miss that spot? I don't know, but it happens. So yeah, you get to watch me color because I didn't know any other way to do this than to show you the whole thing. So there's that, and I'm going to bring back my Old Olive Light because I kind of have just a little bit of a leaf here, just a little tiny bit, so I'm going to color that. And I guess that's going to be good enough. This was probably a little bit of a leaf right here. I'm just going to add some color. It's going to look fine when it's done. So that's that Old Olive, and yeah, and this one, the light one, I'm gonna bring in for that little bit there. Okay, now all I got left is the holly leaves. I'm going to use Granny Apple Green on those, and I'm going to use the light one because I want them kind of a green, not a dark green. So I think that'll work. I'm not sure these are the same colors I used on the leaves in my sample because I didn't keep track. So, but like I say, any color of green, and you don't have to even do it in greens. You could do it, the holly in greens and the other things in other colors. Bring in some rust colors, make it more of a fall kind of a look. That's totally up to you. Get brave and do it multicolored for all I mean, it's just, you'd be surprised what you can make look beautiful when you're playing with it. Sometimes I will end up with a lot of experimentation before I come up with a final product. And I see right now that I missed an Old Olive branch right here. See, I told you. And I'll do that. And this one I'm going to do just this, even though it didn't ink up real good between. I'm going to go ahead and color it. Okay, now I think I've got all the leaves. And now I'm just going to bring in the cherry cobbler, and I'm using the straight end, the pin end of that as well. And I'm just coloring around all these dots that are in here so that they look like little berries. Just like this. And I'm not worried about keeping them the same size as the dot. Sometimes the dots are kind of dark with the black ink, and so I'm just coloring around them so that they'll get a red look to them. It's okay if they're a little bit bigger than they were intended. It's going to be fine. There's some more over here. I think that's all of them, and I see just a few more that need this Old Olive again. One right here and a couple of them here, and I think that's it. Then I'm going to bring in the cherry cobbler ink pad, and we'll open that up. And I re-inked all my pads. I re-ink all my pads every year when the main catalog switches over, and I got a little carried away on some of them. Got them a little inkier than I wanted, so I'm going to push some of the ink back like that, and I'll get out one of my baby wipes. Clean my, you can tell what I've done with my bone folder. It's well used. Anyway, it was a little too juicy, so I pulled some of the color back and pushed it back. And I think that's going to look good. And center it and stamp it. There we go, right in the middle. It looks good. So you get a basic shape. Now you could just make it a square or a rectangle or whatever, but I think this shape kind of came out nice. And then I brought in some rhinestones, and then we have these lovely holiday rhinestones in Basic Jewels, holiday rhinestones in beautiful holiday colors, blue, red, green. But I don't have enough of them. And so this is an alternative if you've come up short with your, and they have a nice sparkle to them, but you can take your blends pens because they dry permanent on non-porous surfaces. And so I brought in my regular 3mm rhinestones, Basic Jewels rhinestones, and I've colored them with Cherry Cobbler Dark. And so that's what this is. And now I'm going to put a few sparkles on there after I mount it to the card. So get my card front in here and get my Stampin' Seal. And I'm just putting this on flat, just like this. And it's centered on here, and this is 4 by 5 1/4, so it leaves that 1/8 inch border all the way around, and that looks fine, just like that. Then we'll put a few of these on. You could put one of these on every dot. I did not do that. I just wanted a few sparkles, and so I just picked some various spots to attach them to. I think I put like about 8 of them on there. I think I have 8 or 10 here, and I actually covered up the little red dots. I used those as a placement option, and so we'll just put those on here until I use up what I've colored. This is an excellent way to get your rhinestones to be matching your color scheme, is to just get the clear ones and color them with your markers. It's just with your blends pens. It's just, I do it all the time. Okay, I got one more I colored. Let's put it here. Okay, and so there, as simple as that is the finished product. I hope you like it. I hope you'll give that a try. I'm going to be trying some more masking and maybe using some of the new mask stencils, things that are in the new catalog. There's some new patterns there. And so I'll be putting this on the inside of the card so that there's a light surface to leave a sentiment on. I might add something else inside, but that's the basic card. If you're not a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator or don't have one and would like to shop with me, my link to my online store is in the description below, as well as a link to my blog, and I would love to have you visit there or shop with me. Thanks for stopping by.